Hello everyone, following on from a very good Spanish Grand Prix, must be said. We are here for the penultimate race of ISRL, and it is the final of the free sprint races here in Belgium. Spa-Francorchamps, a very popular track, but we hope that it can deliver some good racing. Longest track, of course, on the F1 calendar. And we'll see what this sprint race has to offer. For those who need a little bit of a reminder as to how it works, same as IRL F1. It is a one. Well, not the only difference is this is a one-lap qualifying. This will determine the sprint order for the sprint race, and then the sprint race will determine the grid for the actual race. As we are on board with hometown favourite, Wild Dog. One, of course, in Saudi Arabia, and Lot 14's already crashed out, so they're starting last. You'll see as well only 10 drivers in this Division 3, which is rather disappointing. As we get to the end of the season, it would, of course, be nice to see more drivers, but unfortunately, they have decided, now they're not in the championship, they cannot be bothered to race, so apologies on behalf of those drivers who are a bit too lazy to join. There's Wild Dog then. Rounds across Puan. And we'll head into the chicane there. Good left and right hand turn before entering into Stavelot. And now through. There you go. Heading into a very famous corner in Blanchemont, where Max Verstappen passed Felipe Nasser back in 2015. Very sensational move there, before heading into the bus stop chicane. Bit deep on the brakes there for Wild Dog. That will, of course, compromise their exit slightly, but still looks very neat and tidy. Not the quickest, they were the quickest actually by a slim margin. We saw there to Vapor, and so pole position then for the sprint qualifying then for the Belgian driver. 8 1,000ths of a second, so very close between Wild Dog and Vapor. So Victor in P3, Witz in P4, Oilcan P5, Oxong in P6, Synchro down in P7. Not ideal for them, the championship leader. Hartman and Fuller Monkeys getting disqualified, so presumably went all four wheels off the track somewhere. And Lot 14 will start at the back. They crashed very early on in the session, so McLaren will make up the back row. No ideal for them. Wild Dog will we'll hope for they can convert this first sprint qualifying pole position into a race victory. My memory recalls Saudi Arabia was also a sprint qualifying. Wild Dog did well there, but there is the rain now. This will spice this sprint race up a little bit further. Yeah, it was indeed. Saudi Arabia was a sprint qualifying. And I believe, to my knowledge, Wild Dog just about lost. I think Wild Dog lost that one. If memory recalls, it was very close between Wild Dog and Vapor. And once again, they're lined up alongside each other on the front row. So these two, when it comes to sprint qualifying races, they can't get enough of each other. As we'll head into this 11-lap sprint qualifying session. What will these conditions do? Of course, they're in part Ferme conditions as well, so they can't change anything. Very slow getaway there for Vapor. And unsurprisingly, the drivers will all be on the intermediate tyres. I wonder if these are mixed conditions, will any of them take a little bit of a risk? Maybe go on to slick tyres later on. There are points, of course, for the sprint qualifying. So of course you still want to do well in this, but the main race is where it counts. Who will do well in these conditions? Of course, you can go to the end on the intermediate tyres. They're a lot more durable compared to the slicker tyres. See now, Wild Dog is in AI, which in theory you should be avoiding where you can, but you saw there a little slide there for Vapor. This will be the big tradition here around this track in wet conditions. Just losing the rear, so it will be good car control, and Wild Dog hasn't always had that in the past. They have struggled at times with consistency. They're much better than they have been, but Wild Dog has had a few spins this season. They'll hope that won't happen, and their luck in Belgium hasn't always been amazing as well, for good measure. A bit of pressure then on Wild Dog, and they'll hope they'll finish off the remainder of this season. We go to, of course, to Brazil next time round for the final race. There's Vapor keeping very close there. This is a very long formation lap, and actually interestingly, look at the gap between Mike Oxong and Rusty Ork, and now you shouldn't be having such a large gap like that. I'm not sure why, and I'm also not sure why Vapor's suddenly backed off as well. Intriguing there. Thankfully, with only 10 drivers, which once again I apologise for on behalf of the other drivers that couldn't attend, will mean that Wild Dog won't have to wait too long on the grid, so at least one little benefit of a half a grid. There's the two McLarens then, line up on the back row. As we will get it underway then for the Belgian Grand Prix. Here we go. 5 lights then. Here's the sprint qualifying then here for the Belgian Grand Prix. Looks a decent start actually, and already Victor struggling for grip on the exit and has lost positions as a result, down to 6th place. Vapor trying to go round the outside of Wild Dog into the source. We've got 3 wide going through the corner as well. Vapor is challenging the McLaren, the Williams of Wild Dog. Almost went for a move there in through Radion, and up through Rouge and Radion, but a much better exit though for the AlphaTauri. You can see Whitson's there alongside as well. Vapor is having a look round the outside. Wild Dog defends the inside, a little switchback maybe from Vapor, but a little too far back to make a lunge up the inside. Whitson almost tagging them as a result of that, but it all looks pretty neat and clean so far. Wild Dog keeping ahead of Vapor. Whitson alongside as well, having a little bit of a wobble there was the Alpine of Mike Oxong as well. Whitson though very much pressurising their teammate here, and of course with 2 rounds left to go, it's all fair game really. Someone's had a spin, and that's Luck 14 in the McLaren. Car looks okay though, but they will have dropped down the order as a result. Vapor much quicker through the Furon corner. Try to go for a little lunge down the inside. No room there. All the Monkeys meanwhile has got ahead of Victor. Victor's struggling as a result. I wonder if they haven't really got the setup they need for these kind of conditions. As up through and to Blanchimont they go. Who's got the more confidence through there as well? Wild Dog runs a bit wide, almost had to catch the car there as a result. And Vapor for the time being stays behind the Williams driver to complete the first lap then. So Wild Dog under pressure, of course. Thankfully no DRS in these conditions as well, but you can certainly think at this current phase Vapor's the quicker of the two. As Victor into the pits then, so front wing damage then for the Mercedes. I'll drop to the back of the field as a result of that. Tell you what though, Whitson looks a lot closer, and I was about to say, had to save the car then because I thought that was going to go into the barrier. And a good catch there, but that of course meant that Whitson hasn't been able to make a move on their teammate. I was about to say they look much closer to Vapor than Vapor did to Wild Dog. But for the time being, Whitson will have to sit and watch. Vapor continuing to pressurise the race leader at the moment. How much risk will Vapor take in this as well? They'll look for an opportunity. You can see as well the battery, of course, in these conditions, you don't use as much ERS. In fact, actually, you are able to recharge a lot more, as you have to do a little bit more heavier braking. Meanwhile, behind these three, Mike Oxong a little bit further back under pressure from Rusty Oil Can, who's had a pretty mess season so far. Synchro still down in 6th place, playing very precariously at the moment. Hartman a long way back. He's got Fallen Monkeys for company, and then Luck 14, who had that spin earlier, down in 9th, and Victor, who had front wing damage, down in 10th place. I wonder if that came from their messy start, actually. Saw them having a bit of a wobble. They might have hit the barrier there. That might explain why they dropped positions. That's a possible reason. I'm sure they'll know more than we do. There's on to lap 3 we go. And Whitson with the fastest lap of the race. That's once again confirming at the moment. Whitson might be the quicker of the AlphaTauris, but they're all in a bit of a mess here as Oil Can defends down the inside, gives a little bit of a bash to Synchro, but Synchro with a much better drive out of La Source gets up into 5th place as a result. Meanwhile, back on board with these three, and Whitson will have a lovely view of this, but of course they'd like to be in the mix, and Vapor's just a little too far back. Wild Dog has got enough straight line speed to keep ahead of Vapor. So Vapor does look quicker in the corners. As Michael Fures does join, they won't be able to join in this sprint qualifying. They mentioned in Discord they will be joining late, so they'll be there for the race. They'll start down in 11th. But yeah, Vapor's looks much quicker through the corners, but Wild Dog's got enough straight line speed. What Vapor would love is DRS, but at the moment in these conditions, it's not going to happen. How frustrating must it be for Whitson? He's got the speed, but is stuck behind these two. Whitson just needs to find an opening and potentially consider going for it, but how much risk do they want to take? This is only sprint qualifying, it's not the actual race yet. And you can see once again Whitson's so close to the back of Vapor. Will they try for a move around Blanchimont? They're a bit too far back, maybe into the bus stop chicane. Again, Whitson having a bit more confidence, and I thought for a minute they were going to go down the inside, but for the time being they hold back just a little bit. It's a good thing these three are scrapping away, because the gaps really are pretty extensive between the rest of the field. So they're all just taking it nice and easy at the moment. Wild Dog doing very well. You saw them earlier setting the fastest lap, so keeping it all neat and tidy. I don't think Vapor will have a good enough run here. Whitson is using their ERS to keep close to their teammate, but close is not good enough, unfortunately, and Whitson will have to wait a bit. Once again, you can see, particularly through the Lecombe chicane, Vapor looks much quicker than Wild Dog. But once again, I'm going to make an assumption that Vapor's got more downforce on. It's all stationary at this moment in time. We're on lap 4 of this sprint race. Remember, this will determine the grid for the actual race itself. Yes, Michael, you do need to wait in the lobby before the main race. Otherwise, it won't add you in, unfortunately. Once again, now Vapor looks closer. Is he close enough to lunge? Is he brave enough? Not at the minute. And Whitson's just holding back for the time being. This could be intriguing for the race if these two AlphaTauris gang up on the Williams here. Vapor now at the fastest lap of this race. So Vapor's starting to build momentum. Synchro's also within a second of Mike Oxong as well. In that battle for 4th and 5th. So Synchro's going very nicely at the moment. Could be on the back of these three if they're not careful. You can see Whitson having to lift there through Radion. Here's Vapor. Again, just wish they had a bit more straight line speed. Probably someone's had a moment. That is Luck 14 and Victor. I'm not sure if those were independent incidents or these two had a moment together. But so far this sprint qualifying session really hasn't gone well for them whatsoever. They remain even further back in 9th and 10th. Of course, they'll have the full race to make up for that. Wild Dog doing a very solid drive at this moment in time. Haven't seen any mistakes at all. Vapor's just gone very wide through the exit there. I imagine that will incur a warning. Don't really want to be picking those up. Whitson's starting to drop back now on these two. Meanwhile, this is Synchro down the outside of the bus stop chicane, successfully passing Mike Oxong and up into 4th place. Might be able to catch the top 3, but they're about 5 seconds back. A good drive so far from the championship leader, who's well on their way to securing it. We don't actually have the standings, unfortunately, for this week. Remembering, of course, that last week was cancelled, unfortunately, due to a lack of numbers, which is a real shame. But I think, as things stand at the moment, Synchro well on their way for capturing the Division 3 Championship. Down the inside goes Vapor. A little bit of room. Well, it was a half-hearted rugby tackle. As once again, Vapor off the exit, just so much quicker. And you can see the rain has stopped as well. Could we see drivers going on to dry tyres? I think Luck 14 is just made... No, they're not. I thought they were in the pits. They're not. You can see the rain has stopped, so we could see... Will we see anyone go for slick tyres, maybe? Be bold and brave. We're on lap number 6. Laps are long here, but will the track dry out enough as well? We'll see. I don't think these three will take any risks whatsoever because of where they are at the moment. It's a good grid position for the race. Further back, Fallen Monkeys is challenging ISRL Hartman for 7th. Mercedes really have been not a really good opening at the moment. We'll hope for more pace in the actual race itself. Vapor now on the... Oh, was about to try go wheel to wheel with Wild Dog, but Vapor having a bit of wheel spin off the exit of the bus stop chicane, puts them on the back foot. And interesting, Synchro with the fastest lap now 4 seconds back, and also Whitson getting a bit of a messy one as well, a bit of a wobble out of the exit of La Source. That's put them well off these two and into the clutches of Synchro. And now Vapor once again deploying their ERS. Rusty Orkan, by the way, has just gone onto the soft tyres, you can see there as well. So they're going for a gamble. Let's keep an eye on their times and where they are. They will come out in 8th place, but we'll keep an eye on that gap between Orkan and Monkeys. I suppose Orkan, well, they were down in 6th, I think. Lost 2 grid positions. Sure they can live without that. And look at that, DRS is enabled, so that is usually the point where the slick tyres are quicker. So that should play into the hands of Rusty Orkan. 17 seconds back, we should see that gap decreasing between Fallen Monkeys and Rusty Orkan. Assuming, of course, Rusty Orkan can get some temperature in those tyres. But now you can see as well, look at Vapor as well. Vapor closing in on the back of Wild Dog. Almost going off the track there for the exit of Stavelot. There's Vapor, but presumably they'll pit for the slick tyres. But you can see how quick, look how quick Vapor is for Blanchimont as well. Wild Dog really lifting through there, and Vapor's trying to find a way around the outside of the bus stop chicane. Goes into the lead of this race as a result of that. Wild Dog dived into the pits, as does Whitson as well. And I wonder though, by Vapor staying out as a result of that, they're staying on the intermediate tyres. And you can see the gap between Four Monkeys and Rusty Orkan is closing significantly. I think that's a huge mistake by Vapor to stay out there, because Vapor is going to be losing so much time compared to the slick runners. So yes, they may take the lead, but I think now in theory they have to stay out. Synchro also stayed out on the intermediate tyres as well. I suppose for them, they got nothing to lose. Ambitious there. Wild Dog comes out then in third place. That's a gap between them and Whitson as well. I wonder if Whitson got... Oh, never mind. Doesn't matter what happens to Whitson. They've spun rounds. Bit eager potentially on those slick tyres. And that's cost them. They're down in 6th place now. A little over ambitious for Whitson. That's put them on the back foot. Synchro gets a 3-second time penalty. Pandemonium moment. So does Hartman. And Hartman actually has taken themselves out of the race. And Hartman will drop down the order. They'll drop to 10th place. And drivers are getting a bit too overzealous on these softer tyres. First Whitson, now Hartman. So, a little bit of calm heads are needed. Safety car's been deployed though. And suddenly, that plays into the hands of the two that stayed out on the inters. Because at these decreased speeds with the Delta, they might get a free pit stop here. Luck 14 gets a 3-second time penalty. Vapor now goes into the pits as a result. And as this worked out beautifully then for Vapor, because ISRL Hartman's also crashed as well, that might have caused the safety car. So both Mercedes gone then. On go to soft tyres. Synchro pits as well. And thankfully for Vapor, they don't get held up. Now, Wild Dog is just coming through the back straight here. So Wild Dog, I think, is going to lose the lead here. Or will they? Where is Vapor? Yes, they are. Vapor into the lead of this race. The safety car came out at the perfect time for them. Wild Dog will be absolutely gutted with their luck at the moment. Synchro's come out in third place, but remember, of course, they've got a 3-second time penalty. That gap will close up, so Mike Oxon could see a third place start here. Whitson in 5th, got ahead of Rusty Orkan, so Orkan's lost out as well. And 2 McLarens, and they got the final 8 then. And we're going to get a little bit of, well, I suppose emphasis is emphasis of a sprint race. It will be a sprint final few laps then, it seems. That 14 is a long way back, so it could just be a one-lap shootout here for who starts the race on pole position. And now it's a question of who's got the speed and the consistency to take it. And Wild Dog is not happy at all. And it looks like we are going to indeed have 1 lap worth of racing. We'll see. Sprint in a sprint, that's probably the best description of it. Safety, oh no, never mind, we're going to get 2 laps. Safety car is coming in. So, Wild Dog's got 2 laps to try and take back the opportunity to start the Belgian Grand Prix on pole position. Wild Dog's going to clear their head and reset their minds. Synchro's going to try and build up a gap to the rest of the field with that 3-second penalty. Vapor's just got to restart the safety car well. Safety car is in, so it could come in at any time now. And Vapor just choosing their moment. And once again, we've seen it before. They pick usually the final few corners. And Vapor's got a brilliant restart here. And Wild Dog's slightly been caught napping. Synchro's right behind them as well. So Wild Dog could be under pressure here. They could even lose their opportunity to start in the front row. And Synchro now alongside Wild Dog. Will they go wheel to wheel through Eau Rouge and Radion? It doesn't look like it. Synchro drops back a little bit, but now through the exit of Radion and down the Camel Straight here. Can Synchro find a run here? Wild Dog trying everything to defend. Synchro is going to run out of straight there and didn't really have the straight line speed to attack Wild Dog anyways. But Wild Dog remains in second from Synchro. Mike Oxong in fourth from Whitson then, who is going trying to go wheel to wheel with Mike Oxong and is still going wheel to wheel. And are they going to get ahead? We'll have to do a bit of aggressive work in the no-name corner, and Whitson gets tagged as a result. Whitson and Mike Oxong coming together. Whitson falls down to 7th place. Rusty Orkan's moved up into 4th place ahead of Oxong as well. As a result, not sure who was to blame for that one, but either way, Whitson falls even further down. Vapor's had a brilliant restart, and Synchro at the moment that 3-second penalty will drop behind Rusty Oil Can, but 2.6 seconds covers them, and Synchro's maximised their deployment, as has Wild Dog. And meanwhile, Mike Oxong's still trying to find a way past Rusty Oil Can. Vapor with the fastest lap. You don't get points for that here. As Whitson back into the pits then, with presumably front wing damage. And actually DNF. Now I'm not quite sure why Whitson's DNF there. They've just given Luck 14 a position, but that's their decision. As Mike Oxong, though, has just picked up a 3-second time penalty. That wasn't smart either, because now Fallen Monkeys has got 5th place basically in hand. Mike Oxong wants to try and take 4th, but it's a little too far back as a result of that. Disappointment, though, for Whitson. It must be said. Vapor, though, looking very good out in front. Sprint race is looking great for them. And they'll look to try and hopefully convert that into the actual race itself. Michael Furious is hoping for heavy rain in the main race. We shall see. We've already seen how the rain has affected the drivers. But for Vapor, this is looking very good so far. You can see all the gaps have backed down. Synchro has got over a 3-second gap to retain that 3rd place for the race. Mike Oxong will drop down to 6th place at this rate. Meanwhile, though, for Vapor, they've just got the bus stop chicane to go to claim victory for the sprint qualifying session, as Vapor then wins the sprint race and gets the fastest lap, which is irrelevant in in the Belgian for the sprint qualifying. The DRS did get enabled at the end, which doesn't matter, but Vapor then will start the Belgian Grand Prix on pole position for the final sprint week then. Wild Dog in second, Synchro third, Rusty Orkan fourth, Fallen Monkeys in fifth, Mike Oxong in sixth, and Luck 14, who is a long way back around the field, down in seventh place. Whitson in will start in eighth, ahead of the two Mercedes of Victor and Hartmann, and then Michael Furious will start this race in 11th place. There's Luck 14, with the final of the 7 drivers to get to the checkered flag. As Synchro gets driver today, good recovery from them. But I'll hope really in the race they don't pick up penalties like they did. But Vapor, good start. And Mike Oxley's taken the blame for the contact between themselves and Whitson. Wild Dog feels robbed from that. But either way, I'm intrigued though if there is actually a rule for safety cars for the sprint race. Either way, Vapor then wins the race. We'll start the sprint qualifying session as they did the last time on pole position. Wild Dog in second, ahead of Synchro, Rusty Orkan, Fallen Monkeys, Mike Oxong, Luck 14, Whitson, Victor and Hartmann. Your top 10 and Michael Furious will be joining alongside to make it 11 drivers for the race, which as I mentioned is hugely disappointing in terms of numbers. Now, I am just going to check, by the way, the rules section, just to because I'm not 100% sure whether there is or not a rule for the sprint qualifying in terms of safety cars for. I'm just having a look. If it would open, that would be nice. There we go. Right, let's see if we can find any rules as we wait for the grid to get set up. Is there a rule on no safety cars? Because if there is, that could be a problem. Let's have a look. It's a long rule book, isn't it? So, top 5 will obviously get points, so 10 points. Oh, actually, apologies. Fastest lap does get a point, so that 1 point for Rusty Orkan does matter. So good for them. But I don't see anything regarding, unless I'm just having a look. I cannot see anything regarding a safety car for the sprint race. So yeah, I've looked at section 12 of the safety car. Have a look. Yeah, I cannot see anything regarding it. I'm curious. Maybe there's another rule somewhere. I'm not quite sure, but either way. Just having a look. I'm just having, yeah, I cannot see anything on it. Let's have another search. This is what I'm doing in the meantime whilst I'm... Let's have a look. Maybe there's something hidden on Discord. Search far and wide. Unfortunately, no search result was found. This isn't looking good for Wild Dog here. I don't think it's going to matter here. Ah. So it's reduced. There, so we're about to ready up, but yeah, confirmation for Wild Dog. Safety car's reduced on a sprint qualifying. So yeah, Wild Dog can't complain, unfortunately. Just very well, he can complain. That's obviously very unlucky, but nature of the game, unfortunately. As we get underway then for the main race. But yeah, Feral Fury beat me to it. So all good. As we head then into the race, so Michael Furious wanted heavy rain. We'll see what the weather is going to be like. Of course, it's dynamic, so we don't know what it will be. It looks dry, but cloudy weather, so could be rain on the horizon. Drivers will know a lot better than us. I'll have the weather in hand. So, of course, drivers need to remember to put their setups on, as well as picking their strategies, of course. Benefit for the drivers, they've all got a free tyre choice, so they can start on whatever tyres they fancy. But it should be a one-stop strategy in these dry conditions. Not very high tyre wear, to be honest. So we should see soft to mediums or vice versa. Unless anyone has a moment in lap 1, they might have to go onto the hard tyres at that point. But I think, to be honest, if you have a moment on the first lap and you fall behind, I think that's your race massively compromised. As we get underway then for the formation lap. Here's the tyres then. So just the Vapor then. So Vapor, Luck 14, Victor and Michael Furious on the medium tyres. The rest of the field on the soft tyres. So Vapor choosing... so Vapor's on what is basically the reverse strategy. But the rest of the field on the soft tyres will be much more aggressive as a result. And I wonder if Wild Dogs just decide to put their eggs in one basket early. And Vapor hoping to come back stronger at the end of the race, because they'll be on the soft tyres. Wild Dog will have to be aggressive early on. Has got to make the move early on Vapor, and also got to be wary of Synchro behind as well. We know how quick Synchro is. So 11 drivers then. Once again, Mike Oxlong's starting to fall back again. They've got to make sure that they keep within that 2-second window. There's confirmation of tyre strategies. As I said, soft to medium is the optimal strategy, or vice versa, of course. So those on the medium tyres will likely pit around lap 14, I imagine. whereas the soft runners will pit around lap 8, so makes it all for a more intriguing 22 laps here around Spa-Francorchamps. And let's hope it's just as entertaining and exciting as the sprint race. As they make their way then onto the grid. Wild Dog and Vapor going together. Wild Dog, if they can get a good start, they've got the inside line for La Source. Vapor needs a good one as well, but on those medium tyres, in theory, they shouldn't have a good of a start as those on the soft tyres. But once again, because of such a reduced grid, the front runners won't have to wait on the grid for so long, as Michael Fura slots their Alfa Romeo into 11th place. As, once again, the 5 lights are underway then as we go into the Belgian Grand Prix. Good start by Synchro, actually, and Vapor having to defend. Down the inside goes Synchro, and already all contact between Victor and Wild Dog. And Wild Dog out. I wonder if Victor, who was right at the back of the field, a virtual safety car been deployed. Also caught up there was Fallen Monkeys as well. Victor was right at the back of the field. Mike Oxong, I think, has had a spin as well, down at 8th. Wild Dog's got no front wing at all. We've got a safety car immediately. They didn't even get into turn 1 as Hartman gets a 5-second time penalty. What on earth happened there? And I wonder, with Victor right at the back of the field, we saw them down the inside. Did they do what basically Nico Hulkenberg didn't forget to brake? Not quite sure. Victor's brake pedal failed. Oh, that's a shame for them. Well, that's worked perfectly then for Vapor. Safety car's brought out. At least that will give Wild Dog an opportunity to pit and get a new front wing. Lot 14 likewise as well. Hartman's having some kind of issue, it seems, as well. Combination of tyre strategies then. Trying to think who this plays into the hands of more. I think this plays into the hands of Vapor, this early safety car. Because it burns out the soft runners' tyres a bit more. They can't attack, obviously, in this safety car. It plays into, really, I think, Vapor's hands a bit more. Especially with Wild Dog out of contention. So Victor's brake pedal failure has kind of really done Vapor a favour, to be honest. Don't think anybody will be pitting at this moment in time other than those without a front wing, like Lot 14. Into the pits they go. Also Mike Oxong for their spin. Wild Dog in as well, and Fallen Monkey. So both McLarens minus a front wing, unfortunately. Vapor, though, will still have pressure from Synchro behind. We know how quick they are. There's Lot 14 comes out on the soft compound tyres. Mike Oxong and Wild Dog go for the medium tyres, so in theory Mike Oxong and Wild Dog won't have to stop again. And brake pedal stopped working. Yeah, it's all good, Victor. These things happen. Like I said, it doesn't affect me that much, to be honest. I'm not racing. So it's all good. But yeah. Yeah, I've heard there's a number of people with brake pedal issues, though. So, yeah. hopefully you can get them fixed soon. Vapor might be thanking you as well, because that's eliminated Wild Dog out of contention. Down in 9th place, so like I mentioned, is able to catch up to the back of the pack though. We'll just have to do a bit more overtaking work, and in theory, they don't have to make a pit stop again. It's a question of whether those medium tyres will go to the end of the race. Yeah, I saw. Oh, I noticed you came down the inside of. I saw you go down the inside of La Source. Just barely noticed it, so I'd recommend though you make sure you keep your footage though, just in case you're asked for it. Because I imagine Wild Dog's not too happy, as are a number of drivers as well. So we'll see. So we're already on lap 3. We didn't even get a corner's worth of racing, to be honest. Like I mentioned, Vapor I think has massively benefited. All those who started on the medium tyres, like Michael Fures for example, by the way, is up to 5th place now as a result of all this. Started from 11th place. The soft tyres, soft runners I think are going to be unfavoured by that. We're on, yes, we're on lap 3. Should also remember Division 2 is starting late, will be starting soon as well, and of course Division 1 later on. Definitely be sure to keep an eye on them. I imagine the safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap. So 10 drivers left then. We lost Victor earlier on, if you're just joining us. Vapor who is leading from Synchro. Rusty Orkan we haven't mentioned. Doing a good job in 3rd. Admittedly they haven't been able to do much this race, but still very good and solid from them. Whitson back up into 4th after a very messy sprint qualifying. Safety car is in at the end of this lap. Michael Fures in 5th. Harmon in 6th with the only free penalty at the moment. So I believe they got that for speeding under a yellow flag. Lap 14 in 7th. Mike Oksong in 8th. Wild Dog in 9th, and Fallen Monkeys rounds out the 10 remaining drivers. As these two are exchanging positions apparently. Now I'm not quite sure why they're overtaking each other. They shouldn't be. They're not supposed to. And Synchro trying to bait Vapor here. I think we know where Vapor is going to be going, and they've chosen now just before the exit of the bus stop chicane, and they've got to really make this work because Synchro on the softer tyres really be on it. We're back under racing, and look at Whitson already wheel to wheel with Rusty Orkan, and ahead of Rusty Orkan will try and go around the outside of La Source and makes the move stick, and Whitson up into the podium places. AlphaTauri back on the double podium for them as Synchro presumably with more grip through Rouge and Radion, just a bit too far back to make a move. No DRS of course until the end of the second lap after a safety car restart. So as soon as we get to lap 6, that's when it will happen. Wild Dog a bit further behind. They've got Fallen Monkeys that will probably pressurise them later on. Meanwhile, Michael Fures has now got Rusty Orkan down the inside there for a minute. was ISRL Hartman, who gives Luck 14 a bit of a nudge as well. Goes onto the curb as well. That could invite Mike Oxong. There, the two Alfa Romeos dueling away, and Flores has got to head it up into 4th place. Now Luck 14 is trying to look down the outside of Pooh on there. They make contact there, and off the track goes Rusty Orkan, loses not 1 but 2, and maybe even 3 positions. Mike Oxong now trying to go round the outside as well, and round goes ISRL Hartman, and I think someone just lost their front wing as well, and that was indeed Hartman. The end plate gone, and Mercedes having a horrific race at the moment, and Whitson has spun. Whitson goes rear first into the barrier, has got to be careful in their re-entry onto the track, and well, that was even clumsier, to be honest. They've just taken their own front wing out, and Whitson, who was looking good, that double podium for AlphaTauri dissipated. Wild Dog up into 6th place. Synchro the fastest lap. Oil can into the pits. I wonder if there was contact between. No, they weren't close enough. I don't think so. Oil can had a moment themselves, maybe with their contact with a couple of the drivers. But Hartman, whether they lost it on their own or not, we shall find out later on. Here comes Synchro. We've got Hartman retiring there in the pits. Whitson, I think, has just bottled it on the pit entry as well. Vapor having to defend the inside line. Synchro trying to go around the outside. We saw Nico Rosberg trying that, and it didn't work out too well. Vapor defending very nicely and holds the lead, and this is what they need to do, because this will be when Synchro is at their quickest on these soft tyres. But the longer they can defend, the more it plays into Vapor's hands. Of course, Vapor not really in the championship, to be honest, so it doesn't really bother them too much. Mike Oxon, meanwhile, has just passed Luck 14 for 4th place. Wild Dog is right behind them as well. Wild Dog is on a charge at the moment. In their home race, of course, trying to find a gap there. That gap was going to close, I think, very quickly. Back on board for the battle for the lead, as Wild Dog has now found a, well, I was about to say found a way past Luck 14, didn't find a way past it, and, well, they ended up losing position to Fallen Monkeys, actually. And I wonder if did they pass Luck 14 off track to do so? Here's Synchro trying to go around the outside of the bus stop chicane. That's where Vapor, of course, made their pass. And Synchro runs out of room. Vapor holding on very nicely here, as DRS will now be enabled on this lap. Synchro's just a little too far back, but they will have DRS on this occasion. You can see them really pushing at this moment in time. See a little lift there. Now DRS will come into effect here. Vapor trying to break the toe. Defends the inside line. You're not allowed to make excessive moves, but that one's okay. Vapor once again just having enough momentum, and a bit of a whack there for Vapor by Synchro, as Wild Dog gets ahead of Fallen Monkeys for 5th place. Synchro realising the importance of getting past Vapor quickly. Yeah, as a result, at the moment, Vapor just keep behind, but I don't think this is going to, well, they're going to go wheel to Pooh on here, but the gap's just not there at the moment. And Synchro has to wait for a little bit. You can see they're really depleting their ERS at the moment. Synchro knows how desperate they need to get past Vapor quickly. And the longer they wait, the longer it's hurting their strategy. Because we know Vapor will be on the soft tyres later on, and Synchro will be on the medium tyres, and Vapor will have the advantage. Wild Dog will now chase after Mike Oxling as well, meanwhile, for 4th place. Oh, and Vapor's gone deep, though. Mistake by the AlphaTauri. They went deep into the bus stop chicane. That's going to compromise them. Just broke a little too late, it seems. Wild Dog gets the fastest of the race. That's good info. As Luck 14 leaves the session, they've gone into the pits then. I imagine that's them done. You can see not much ERS for Synchro. Vapor's got plenty to spare at the moment, and despite the fact they've got the DRS. Synchro's not close enough to make a move. Vapor again. Vapor's car seems very lazy through the corners now. Remember, of course, back in the sprint qualifying, Vapor had enough downforce to really comfortably go through the Lecombe chicane in the wet conditions, but Vapor's car seems really lazy through the corners at the moment. Now, here we go again. Synchro will need to find a way through quickly because their soft tyres, I imagine, will be going soon. And they've gone wide there as well for good measure. Wouldn't be surprised if they picked up a penalty for that. Remember, of course, Synchro picked up a 3-second time penalty in the sprint qualifying. They need to be careful not to continuously do that. Rusty Orkham, meanwhile, has just picked up one for multiple track warnings. Mike Oxong's almost on the back of Michael Flores for third. Wild Dogs dropped a bit back behind them as well. And into the pits then comes Synchro. Now, Synchro is going to drop a bit behind the field, given that most of them are either on the mediums or pitted under the safety car. Michael Flores, Mike Oxong and Wild Dog will blast past as well. Luckily for them, Fallen Monkeys pitted as well. Synchro will come out of this race. In theory, with Vapor and Michael Flores still needing to make their mandatory pit stop, it's Mike Oxong who will be the net race leader. Lap 14, meanwhile, just rejoined. They're on the hard tyres, actually down in 8th place, a long way back. Fallen Monkeys pits and makes their way, and they'll fall back behind their teammate actually. So Vapor needs a good couple of laps here before they switch onto the soft tyres. Wild Dog trying to home in. Here goes the two McLarens actually. That's through Rouge and Radion. Maybe an AI, but not 14. Not really making it easy at all. But I think Fallen Monkeys are going to find an easy way past here. And Fallen Monkeys up into 7th place. Basically last and last but one really. And while that happened, Michael Flores just picked up a 3-second penalty. With these two closing behind as well, that could have implications later on. But Mike Oxong's concern at the moment is Wild Dog, who's within a second of them behind it in the battle for 3rd and 4th. But remember, once again, Wild Dog's ERS, this has been their Achilles heel. They seem to dump their ERS a bit too much. It's cost them in the past. Obviously, it's understandable in this scenario as they try and recover at the field. Look how much later as well Wild Dog breaks compared to the Alpine of Mike Oxong. Wild Dog does burn through their ERS quite quickly, and it's cost them in the past, but at the moment it's giving them a good run on Mike Oxong. They short shift through Radion as well to help control the oversteer, and Mike Oxong tries to defend that one, but Wild Dog with enough straight line is able to get ahead and past Mike Oxong, and up into the podium places goes the Belgian driver in their home Grand Prix. Meanwhile, Vapor building up the gap nicely to Michael Flores, up to almost 6 seconds now. Synchro in clear air on those fresh medium tyres. We'll see what their pace is looking like later on. This will be their first time lap, of course, so we'll compare and contrast. Right, Wild Dog will now chase after Michael Flores for second. So it's a good recovery at the very latest. And I'll tell you what, did I just see spots of rain maybe? Am I going crazy? Not quite sure. I thought I saw a spot of rain. I think I am just losing my mind. Yeah, must be losing my mind. Apologies. I thought I saw a spot of rain. Did look like it initially, but I must be going mad. So Vapor's gap now 6.3 seconds. I didn't actually catch what his lap time was, and the reason was because I'm intrigued as to what Synchro's time is here on these fresh medium tyres. 47.5, not massively quicker than the soft tyre runs here, so Vapor's looking alright so far. Mike Oxon now gets a 3-second time penalty. So let's compare and contrast whilst waiting, because nothing's really happening. So 147.4 for Vapor. 147.5. So Vapor actually was quicker by a tenth there on that actual lap. So that's ideal. And if Vapor can even match or even beat Synchro's times, that's really going to help them later on when they pit for the soft tyres. Synchro's got to make a bit more of a dent, I think. Wonder if it's just them going to get temperature into their tyres. Wild Dog is now really close to the back of Michael Fures as well. Really has closed in on the gap, actually. It's about 1.8 seconds. Wild Dog has dropped it down to about 4 tenths or so. Wild Dog, of course, has 2 lap fresher medium tyres, of course, to play with. Michael Fures, who joined late, looking very comfortable for a podium position, but that second place is under severe jeopardy. And remember, of course, the Alfa Romeo has not made an official pit stop yet. Wild Dog has, and in theory, Wild Dog actually will be leading this race when the top 2 make their stop. So actually, this is looking really positive for Wild Dog. Vapor was to pit now. Where would they come out? 7.3, 7.8, 10, let's see. Yeah, so obviously Vapor will come out down around 4th place. But Wild Dog in theory has got an advantage here, so that start that they had by pitting under the virtual safety, pitting under the safety car, sorry, actually has helped them significantly in terms of track position. So they won't have the quickest car in terms of tyre wear and grip, but they should in theory be in a position to win the race, or where they could win the race, I should say. But one of the things they'd like to do at the moment is get past the Alfa Romeo, so they can be in nice clear air. At the moment, doesn't look like the case. Fures' fight really isn't with Wild Dog at the moment. If there is the threat of possible rain, of course Fures will defend that. I thought I did see rain earlier, but I must have been losing my mind. Just very grey clouds at the moment. Closest battle on the field here is between these two. See the gaps massively formulating further back. DRS will be enabled. Fures on... Oh, sorry, not Fures, for Wild Dog on this run. You can see the Williams getting closer and closer. Not close enough to make a move into the source. It's not really the ideal overtaking place anyways. Through the Camel Straight, following the exit of Eau Rouge and Radion. That's where you really want to be making a move. There was a little glitch, well, not a glitch, there was an internet lag there. Wild Dog, I think, missed DRS. Oh, yes, they did. Oh, Wild Dog's left the session. Oh, no, Wild Dog. Possible internet issues or what, but that certainly harmed their race. And Wild Dog, who was in an opportunity to win the who could have been in a chance to win the race, now has left the session. I'm presuming that's internet issues. And Wild Dog then, and they've rejoined, thankfully, very quickly. A long way back. So, yes, they've lost a little bit of time, but they can hopefully get back in as quickly as possible. Synchro isn't really doing amazing laps though, to be honest. On those medium tyres, must be said. Oh, and that's not impressive either. That's a front wing damage for Synchro. And that was off the exit of Stavelot. Good thing we caught that live. And that is even worse for Synchro. One little mistake. That's put them on the back foot. That really does play into the hands of Vapor. Oh dear, Synchro. What have you done? So they'll be back in the pits once again. And Wild Dog's... I think Wild Dog is now back in, but Mike Oxong has caught back up to them again. Wild Dog's dropped massively back behind Furious. The good thing for Furious is... sorry, for Wild Dog is Furious has got to make a pit stop anyways. But that gap between Vapor... Well, the gap to Vapor is ever increasing. It's making Vapor's... Well, Vapor's laps at the moment very consistent at the moment. They'll be in a position in about 2 laps time to make a pit stop to go onto the soft tyres. That's what Synchro's on, who's dropped now down into 7th place. Not been the race they've wanted after looking really strong throughout. They dropped down into 7th place. We'll have to try and see if they can get McLaren and Fallen Monkeys, but with the gaps at the moment, Synchro might not make many positions. They might need a safety car or 2. Wild Dog's starting to settle back into a rhythm. They've dropped Mike Oxong and once again is back trying to hunt back on the tail of Michael Fierez. Thankfully that spin for Synchro means that Vapor will have one less car to contend with. So that should mean when Vapor pits they'll be in 4th place. They'll have to make at least 2 overtakes if they want to win, and I think that was Michael Furious who just darted into the pits there, and it was. We are on lap 14, so pit window should be open for the medium runners. In comes the Alfa Romeo then. So Wild Dog moves up into 2nd place. On go the soft compound of tyres. And that should take Michael Furious to the end of this race. And they'll come out ahead of their teammate, Rusty Oil Can. What can they do? They've got a 13-second gap, really, on Mike Oxlong. They've both got a 3-second time penalty, so... But 9 laps to try and make it work. Furious has got a bit of work to do, but... they can make it work for sure. And Vapor then. How long do they want to leave it before they make a pit stop? Because their pace so far is really consistent. See what the times are between the top 2. So that's Synchro. We don't. No, that's. Apparently, I don't know how to click buttons. It seems so. 148 flat for Vapor versus a 46.9. Did I read that right? Yeah, 48.0. I tell you what, actually, on second thoughts, I think that gap is starting to close. Didn't look that bad before, but... So I imagine Vapor will make a pit stop here to not lose that much time. And they are indeed pitting on lap number 15 then. So the race leader will come in. So Wild Dog will take the lead of this race. It'd be amazing if Wild Dog can hold on to the victory here. They might have to do a bit of defending later on. Vapor then on the soft compound tyres we go. And should come out comfortably ahead of Michael Fures. What's the gap then between themselves and Wild Dog as they make their way out of the pits? Not a bad gap at all. 6.8 seconds then between Vapor and Wild Dog, with Mike Oxong in between them. Vapor with the fresher tyres should have a huge advantage here. Wild Dog has got to keep their battery ready. Look at what's the battery for Wild Dog down to 6%. Wild Dog really has got to conserve their ERS here, because if they don't, they're in real trouble against Vapor. there'll be a sitting duck down at least any of the Camel Straights, and Wild Dog just needs to not use their ERS, which is unfortunately what their mistake is at the moment. They're just continuing to use it. I don't think they're thinking of the long term, unfortunately. And this has cost Wild Dog a victory before in Saudi Arabia. Could history repeat itself? Vapor is already on the back of Mike Oxong, already within a second of the Alpine driver. So Vapor is on a mission. Someone's at a spin though. That is Michael Furious on those soft tyres. Reverses out of the gravel trap. Still stays in 4th place, but that certainly won't help the tyres at all. It's dropped even further back down the field as well, for good measure. Thankfully, he's still in the race though. Whether or not they've got front wing damage or not, we're not sure. They might have done actually. We didn't check that. Yes they do. The end plate on the right hand side is missing. So Furious will be back into the pits. So on second thoughts, maybe it didn't work out so well. There's Vapor then, very close to the back of Mike Oxong here, and almost running into the back of Oxong. Such was the speed difference there between the two. But Vapor breezes past the Alpine driver and up into second place. While that's happening, both Alfa Romeos in the pits. So, issue for both of them actually. Still dropped that. That put Synchro then into 4th place. All Monkeys in 5th. So 3.5 seconds then between Wild Dog and Vapor. I think all signs point to Vapor really. Not sure what will happen here, as we've got a yellow flag in sector 2. That's Wild Dog though. Well, tell you what, doesn't matter. Vapor takes the lead of the race because Wild Dog has just spun off the exit of the Pouhon corner. And is there damage? Yes, there is. The end plate's missing. Oh, Wild Dog, they didn't need to make that mistake. They had an opportunity to win the race. And a mistake from the Williams driver. We'll see them back into the pits then. Thankfully, there's a massive gap between them and Synchro, so they can at least hold on to the podium position. But Vapor then, I think that's a very comfortable victory for them. And takes the fastest lap for an added bonus as well. Mike Oxon also pits as well. Here's interesting. Is that front wing? No, it's not. It's just going onto the soft tyres. Essentially realising that Wild Dog's got a pit, so they've got a net second anyways. Back they come into second place. Wild Dog with a new nose going on. Like I mentioned, should be comfortably clear of Synchro, or will they actually? I don't think they will actually. There is Synchro. Synchro is going to get ahead. Is Fallen Monkeys going to do the same as well? Yes, they will. Wild Dog then has lost 2 positions. I thought there was a significant gap between the two of them, but Wild Dog must have really struggled through the bus stop chicane into the pits. It is quite a narrow pit lane. But Synchro then up into the podium places once again. And look at Wild Dog trying to go blasting past there on the McLaren of Fallen Monkeys. You saw the speed difference there, and Wild Dog wasn't wasting any time there. Gets past the McLaren and up into 4th place. They've now got the championship leader in front of them. To if I can get my words in, is between them and a podium. But of course, Synchro once again has got a time penalty. Wild Dog, for the time being, does not. And so far as things stand, Wild Dog is on the podium anyways, but I'm sure they'd like to win it outright. Wild Dog has got 1 lap fresher tyres than Synchro. Synchro, of course, will have the championship in mind. Don't really want to be taking any unnecessary risks. The gap now reduced to under a second as Wild Dog closes in on Synchro. Good pace that Wild Dog has shown. They'll be kicking themselves for that mistake that they made. Down Wild Dog considering a move down the inside of the source. Synchro very slow off the exit there. Wild Dog bouncing into them. And here we go then. Are we going to see a move through Eau Rouge and Radion? I think Wild Dog has made that pass even before that's happened. Wild Dog will take third place, but maybe not for that long, because Synchro, by being behind Wild Dog, has actually got the DRS as a result of that. Synchro retakes the third place, and Wild Dog I thought was almost going to shoot into the back of Synchro there. It was just another internet issue, I imagine. But Synchro very smart there. One step ahead. Realised they lost an opportunity, didn't fight them through Rouge and Radion, instead decided to take the DRS instead. And Wild Dog with with very little ERS in comparison, couldn't really defend against it either. So, all at the moment, Synchro remains ahead, but Synchro with that 3-second penalty. And with Fallen Monkeys in close proximity as well, does Synchro really want to fight too hard against these two? And so Wild Dog now almost thought of a move down the inside of Blanchimont. I think that would have been an intriguing one. They bang wheels there. Wild Dog with an aggressive move down the inside of the bus stop chicane. Gets forced off the track there as a result. And now they go wheel to wheel down the straight. Wild Dog with DRS on the approach into the source. Synchro still trying to fight this one through, actually. They're now going to go wheel to wheel there. And Wild Dog this time is going to be the one behind. And oh no, this is not right at all by Synchro and Wild Dog. We should not be playing this game. Fallen Monkeys as a result of that. Wild Dog and Synchro. Now this was the DRS game they were playing. Synchro unable to defend against that. That was appalling driving by Synchro and Wild Dog though. But Wild Dog takes third place as a result. It's all fair before, but wasn't then. And look at this. This is Synchro down the inside. Gives Wild Dog a little nudge there. Holds on to that third place. This is really irrelevant for Synchro. Actually, it's hurting them because they'll drop down to 5th anyways. Yeah, that was... I'm not a fan of what I'll call as DRS chicken. Just trying to deliberately slow down to get the DRS. Not a fan of that style of racing. That's not, to be honest, that's not racing anyways. There's Wild Dog then. We'll have to try again. They haven't got much ERS to use. Neither does Synchro. All the Monkeys will keep a watch on these two. They lift like they did before. They've got an opportunity again. They're the only driver on the medium tyres at the moment. So it's actually been a pretty consistent race for them. As we start lap 20. Once again, Wild Dog and Synchro. They're both a little bit slow. This time, both playing. Synchro stays ahead for the time being, so that means Wild Dog will get the DRS as a result. Much better exit as well. Here we go again. I think Synchro knows what's coming here. Defends the inside line. Wild Dog just says thank you very much. I will take third place. And we'll hope that they can hold it this time around. But Wild Dog's issue really has been through this Lecombe chicane. This is where Synchro's been the quicker of the two. Almost went onto the grass there, and Synchro trying to pull a feint there, and actually almost lost the back of the car as a result of that. And I think this time Synchro, unless they can keep up with Wild Dog, I think that might be the end of it. Michael Furious is now on the back of them. Furious, we haven't mentioned, by the way, is on the soft tyres, up in the 5th place, now closing in on them. While that's happening, by the way, Vapor's just pitted, and with such a gap between them and the rest of the field, they can pit and go for the fastest lap on a fresh set of soft tyres, so they want the extra points with such a large gap between them and Mike Oxong. I wonder if Oxong could do the same. They choose not to, which is understandable. So you've got a three-way scrap here for the final place on the podium. Wilder the only one of the three without a penalty at the moment. These two have won at least. So DRS for both Synchro and Michael Fures. Vapor had about 7 seconds to spare on their pit stop. So worked nicely for them. Now Synchro's turn, they will have the DRS down Eau Rouge and Radion. Might be on the defensive though in comparison. There is Fures. See the closing speed though, the speed of Fures. Synchro's on the defensive once again. Will Fures go around the outside? Oh, and Synchro breaks late, gives a little nudge there to Michael Fures. Synchro hasn't really been driving well, to be honest. Been very quick in general, but I think of all the races so far, this is the messiest that Synchro's driven. I suppose in theory, with the championship almost wrapped up, they got nothing to lose from it. But Vapor though will be gearing themselves up for the fastest lap. They're about to start the final lap actually. And it has been really commanding for Vapor. No mistakes whatsoever from them. It's all been plain sailing. And it's been so calm for them as all the drama has unfolded behind. Meanwhile, Michael Fures and Synchro, and I wonder... Now, I'm not trying to say that something's happened here, although Synchro's just come back up the inside. These two are dueling away. Fures though is behind. Let's hope that Michael Fures didn't also play the DRS train. But they do have the DRS. Synchro is gonna... Oh, that's not ideal, and that was really not nice by Synchro at all. Thankfully, I don't think Fures has got damage. That was really not ideal though by Synchro. And again, it's lost the front wing as well. It's just gone into the back of Fures. That one wasn't intentional at all. But Synchro with no front wing as well. And there is Fallen Monkeys right behind them as well. Synchro is so quick through that corner there. Too quick. And unfortunately ran into the back of Michael Fures. Fallen Monkeys has got to be careful. Synchro's got that front wing. Meanwhile, as we go on board with Vapor, Vapor has crossed the final corner and dominates with the fastest lap and wins the Belgian Grand Prix as a result. Mike Oxong will come across the line to pick up a second place podium for Alpine. And Wild Dog, despite a messy Grand Prix, they will come across the line to take the final podium position in their home race. Roller coaster of a weekend for them. But I'm sure given the circumstances, they'll be happy with that podium place. Michael Fures will cross the line in 4th place. Synchro's dropped down to 6th place with that front wing damage, unfortunately for them. 6th place will go to them. Rossi Orkan will finish in 7th. And Lot 14, I think DNF'd, will take 8th place. So despite the lack of numbers, it was still pretty good racing, to be honest. Furious with the driver of the day. Not bad from 11th to 4th. But Vapor with a very, very happy Belgian Grand Prix. No, didn't really look in doubt, to be honest, for them. So, we'll get to the standings. I think only 7 drivers then finished of the 11. So, Cervapa then, confirmation with the win and fastest lap. Very commanding weekend for them. Mike Oxong in second, Wild Dog in third. Michael Furious from 11th to 4th. Very, very impressive. Fallen Monkeys in 5th. Synchro in 6th. Miserable weekend for them. Rusty O'Kelly in 7th. Luck 14 in 8th. Hartman in 9th. Hartman, Whitson and Victor, all 3 DNF'd. So we only had 8 drivers in the race. But yeah, not bad. Like I said, not bad given the numbers. So good racing overall. Feel free to check out Division 2, which I believe has started earlier on as well. And then Division 1 will be out later on. We've got the final race in Brazil next week to close off the season. So we'll hope maybe 1 for better numbers and 2 for some more exciting racing. But thank you again all. Been a pleasure as always. We will see you next week for the final race in Brazil. Thanks all. Take care. Bye.